Oh, hello, and long time no see. My apologies. Between the aftermath of moving house and changing jobs twice in the space of 4 months, and all of the work that still had to be done on the house that would become urgent, I've been absent, and I apologise. This is an unusual one, slightly different to my normal style and content. Now, we heat with wood predominantly, so we've got a big 12 kilowatt wood burner that heats the vast majority of our home, mainly because it's the most cost effective solution where we are. We're otherwise on LPG. Our home to heat over the winter with LPG costs about £2,400, which is quite a lot for 6 months of the year. So we have a wood burner instead, and practically all of the wood that you see before you, and all the wood I get, is from people that are taking down trees and want some help either removing it or otherwise farmers. I get a lot of wood from farmers who are doing hedge work, things like that. And normally I would set it out in the spring and let the weather get to it, and bring it inside just before winter, and that would be that. However, we have upgraded to the big 12 kilowatt from a much smaller 5 kilowatts, which means that we are going through wood at a rate of knots. To put it in perspective, that is one IBC or intermediate bulk container every 3 weeks. We're going through about 1.5 a month. So we're talking 9 IBCs. Those, for those who aren't familiar, are about a metre by 1.2 metres by 1.2 metres tall. So 1.4 thereabouts cubic yards or cubic metres of timber. So we're going through about 12 cubic yards of timber a year, which is an enormous amount, and we don't have space to store it. What I have discovered, and what all this is this is my outdoor stacks. This is what I would class as semi-season. So in the summer it was fine, it all dried down, would have all been burnable, but we only have indoor space and storage space for about 2 IBCs worth at the moment. I have got a couple more that are coming, empty cages that are coming, which will stack on top of the other one, so that will up it to 4, but the vast majority of our timber needs to stay outside. And in a normal year that wouldn't be too much of an issue, because you'd have some wind, you'd have some rain. I usually keep a tarp on top, and it would even itself out, and you'd bring it in. So as you emptied one IBC container, you'd bring in stuff from outside, and by the time the second IBC container was done, the first one the surface moisture had dried off. But it's been so continuously and constantly and significantly wet this year. Everything is still wet on the outside, which we can't burn. It's not good for the environment, it's not good for our health, and it's difficult to burn. You don't get much heat out of it. Now, over the summer I use my greenhouse under the benches here as a solar kiln. So I'll have my plants on top, so usually tomatoes and cucumbers down there and peppers on the work surface, but underneath it's empty. So I use it as a solar kiln, and the heat from the sun dries out the wood underneath there much faster than it would do outside. Brilliant. So I had a thought. Maybe I could turn a solar kiln into a proper kiln, as in kiln drying. So today's a bit of an experiment. This video will only go up if it's successful. So you'll see that everything I've got. I don't want moisture from the ground leaching into the timber, so I've put it onto gravel trays that I normally use for my tomatoes. And I've stacked it. You can see it's not, by any means, it's not stacked to the gunnels. It's still quite loose and airy. This is a big greenhouse though. It's a 12 by 8, but I don't use it over the winter. Now there are a couple of ways that you can kiln dry. The first is through dehydration. So you get a big a dehumidifier, and you run that, and you draw all the moisture out of the timber. With this quantity of timber in here, you're talking hundreds of litres, which means that the electricity bill is going to be enormous. So I thought, well, why not try it? I've got the fans. There's another one hiding behind there just to move some air around. I'll spend £90 on one of these cheap Chinese diesel heaters and see, with the door closed and one of the windows. I haven't bothered to clean it because frankly it's going to get messy again anyway. I'll clean it in spring when we're ready to use it as a greenhouse again. I'll only use this as a kiln over winter. Yeah, door's closed. We'll fire this up. Now you can have directional outputs on this. I don't need that. I just need this whole space to be heated. I'm going to have the fans moving air around both underneath the bench and on top of the bench, so the heated air should, in theory, blow out from here and from the exhaust round here. So it'll hit the stacks, work its way through the stacks, be picked up by the fan down there and circulated underneath, and as it rises, it'll be picked up by that one and pushed through that stack of timber, and eventually it will exhaust out there with all the humidity. That's the theory. The reality may be different, but we'll bring you back and we'll show you. Now, from the outside, I'm going to try and keep the doors closed because, of course, I don't want to be letting any heat out. But I want to keep an eye on things. So I've got one of my. I don't know if you can see that. That's one of my. I've got some temperature things for some heat mats that are still in there that I use for starting my seeds. That's saying it's 10.9 degrees in there at the moment. I've also got an electricity meter to see how much power I'm drawing, because effectively that's 12 volts, so although it's running through the battery, that battery is pretty knackered, so I've got my battery charger on it just to keep it topped up, otherwise it will shut itself off, and the fans, and we'll see how much power it takes and how long it takes. So the plan and the thinking is that I'm going to run this, so it's full of diesel at the minute, run it pretty much until it's dry, whether that takes 2 hours or 6 hours or 10 hours, whatever, until it's pretty much empty. Then I'll turn it off, I'll open the doors, I'll make sure that any humidity can then draft out, and then the following day I'll come out and we'll start the process again until this wood is completely dry. If this works on this semi-seasoned, I have some huge quantity, probably twice as much as in here, wet ash, literally cut 2 weeks ago. We'll see how much longer that takes if this is successful. If not, it'll have to go into a stack and wait until next year for winter 2024. But it's fine, it's not a problem. So we'll see. But you know, this could be a useful way for hopefully not a great deal of money to make sure that we can supply ourselves with the timber we need all over winter, particularly with the way that timber prices are going at the moment. So a stack of either seasoned or semi-seasoned, so an IBC's worth, is in my area is about £150. If you want kiln dried, it's a bit more, about 170. At that point, it's the question is it worth putting on the LPG instead? It's no longer cost effective, even with the very high prices of LPG at the moment. I've got a very efficient brand new LPG boiler, and that runs our hot water in our oven, but the heating is run predominantly, there is some background heat, so overnight it will keep the temperature above 10 degrees through the LPG central heating, but that's all it does. The rest of the time, for anything more than that, it's all wood. So it's not really cost effective or efficient to buy wood with the way prices have gone recently. So we'll see, because if it works, I've got numbers of friends who heat through wood and are paying for seasoned wood, that if I've got spare from work I'm doing for people, and you know, I have no problem doing that, split it down small and give it to some friends, then I'll do that. I mean, in here, between these stacks on this side and here, and there's one under each of those benches, you've probably got about 3.5 cubic meters, so probably getting on for 3 IBCs worth, which is 2 months supply for us. that'll see us through to well towards the probably middle to end of February. One more load, and that's fine. So I'm expecting it to take multiple days. I will bring you back as we run the first one. So I'm going to put it on get it running, because I understand priming these is a bit of a pain. So I'll get it on and I'll get it running. I'll come and I'll bring you back in about an hour after it's been running. See what the temperature's like in here. See whether it seems to be effective, and I'll just keep you updated. I won't put this up until this wood is completely dry, because it's got to be dried. Even if it takes me a month, I've got to get this wood dry because I need it for the house. But we'll see. Anyway, I'll bring you back. Okay, maybe you can hear, but that's all working now. That took some time. Temperature has increased to, if you can see that through there, 11.4 anyway is what it's saying. I really need to clean the inside. There we go, 11.4. I'll bring you back in about half an hour once it's fully up to speed, and we'll see what it's like. Okay, here we are half an hour later. It's gone up a bit, 14.4, but not quite to the temperatures I'd hoped. Definitely feels warmer in here. Obviously I wouldn't suggest opening the door and taking a bit of it. See carbon monoxide in there otherwise. It seems to be functional. Really, we'll see in a couple of hours. Okay. After an hour now, that's 15.3 degrees, so it's gone up a wee bit. Not enormously. I'm going to shut the top greenhouse vent that I've got, and we'll see what the fuel level's like. See, it's it did get a bit close, so I've lifted it off the melted plastic there. After an hour, registered on the fuel, but I've used any, so clearly fairly efficient. That up, so that improves it. Should be leaky enough to provide plenty of oxygen. Seems to be certainly pretty warm. Come back in another hour. Okay, here we are again after 2 hours. It's after dark now. I can't see through that, but I can definitely see some condensation forming, which wasn't there before. You can see condensation on the wall, so it's up to 17.5 degrees. Just going to see what fuel we've used. Open that roof light again. I'll see you in another hour. Okay, here we are, the morning after the night before. I had the heater running till about 10 PM last night. As you can see, I opened the doors up when it got to 10. Opened the window vent again. Left the fans on just to allow that warm, moisture-laden air to escape from the envelope of the greenhouse. Temperature wise, we're back down to 9.9, so 10 degrees. Let's have a look. This is ash, so you can see there's still some moisture in here, certainly in pieces lower down, so it's going to need a couple more days for that at least. This is the hawthorn hedge clippings, hedge cuttings. That all seems pretty dry, even the moss seems dry. It's a bit damp on that end still, that particular piece. You can see the moisture has been driven out from the ash towards the outside. There's no point me getting the moisture meter out and splitting and testing these. You can see from the ash till that's completely dried up and you start to see checking on the ash, then you know it's not anywhere near. This is the oak. This oak was really quite well seasoned to start with. Doesn't feel damp to the touch, but then again, you know, it's only had 1 day's worth of treatment. So, how much fuel have we used? Oh, there's a little bit left, probably 4 litres, something like that. So, plan for today is fill it up, run it for, we ran it for about 6 hours yesterday, for about another 6, maybe 7 hours. I might run it a little bit lower, and then shut it off and do rinse and repeat, and I'll bring you back tomorrow once we've, or maybe late tonight, but yeah, probably more likely tomorrow once we've done a second night and see how we get on with the seasoning. And here we've got some ash at the bottom and some, I think that's ash on this side and then hawthorn on the other. Yeah, you can see the moisture sort of rings almost. Once that's pushed its way out, probably I think we're going to need at least 3 days, but probably more likely 5. Which is what my initial thinking was, probably going to be 5 days to dry the ash at least. You'll tell because you'll start to see checking, start to see cracks in the ends of the big pieces. Once this is dried all the way through to the outside, you'll see it cracking. Right, I'll bring you back. Okay, so we set it up on Saturday. We had it running all day Sunday. Didn't turn it off till about 9:30 Sunday night. We're back on Monday, so let's have a look and see what the condition of the timber is like. So I can see already that over on this side, some of this wood is all but dried. I can't see any checking, but then again we have treated it quite gently, so there might not be checking. This is all the ash we're looking at here, which is the wettest of the wood that I had in here. Over on this side, further away from the heat, you still see there's definite moisture inside the timbers, or at least staining. It feels quite dry, but we'll see. Yeah, down here, this is some of the seasoned oak that had just absorbed. It's been sat around, so it's been seasoned for a couple of years and just absorbed some from the outside. That looks pretty dry. And this is the hawthorn that was most definitely dry, but it's outside under a tarp. It's been fully seasoned and then absorbs a load of water back again. That looks dry and ready to go. What I'm going to do, I think, first though, is I'm going to split a couple of pieces. I'll bring you back in a second and we'll see what it's like with a moisture meter on the inside. Okay, so here we have some oak in this stack. Excuse me, I'm trying to do this one-handed, but I want to be able to press the pins in properly. Okay, so in the centre, we've got 15.7. It's the outside where we have higher moisture content, that's 15%, so that oak's ready to go. This is my hawthorn. Dry as a bone. I did think that was split quite thin and was the driest of the lot. And here is the fresh ash. 16.8 in the centre, 16.8 in the outer, on the thinner piece, 15.7. So pretty much all of this now is dried down to a burnable level according to that moisture meter. Now, I don't believe that's entirely true. I'm fairly certain there are parts of the stacks that have worse airflow than others, but the majority of this is now ready after only 2.5 days of use. It's ready to be used. So for me, that's an enormous plus. You're probably talking. I've got a little electric meter in the shed. I'll show you what that's used. But that's used. This is a 20-litre drum. That's probably a third full, and that's full at 5 litres. So you've got probably 13 litres. So we've used 16 litres. So that's about 20 quid, £22. But that is at full price diesel. I've discovered that my local garage, this one fairly rural, also sells kerosene, which it works equally well in that, albeit you have to have a tiny slosh of two-stroke, which is not an issue because I've always got that kicking around. But yeah, this is probably 4 square metres, at least 2.5, maybe even 3 IBCs worth. And our electric usage has been 5.3 kilowatts at about 35p a kilowatt. That's another £1 something, so probably talking about 20 quid all in maximum to dry down all this wood, and it could be as low as 12 or 13 quid. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, if it was truly damp, truly wet wood, that would probably be a lot more than that. I'd be expecting 5 to 7 days for green wood drying down, and that's obviously a much higher cost. But yeah, very happy. I've got enough wood to last me a little while here. I have to say, given the experiment, I would not say it was particularly efficient. That little heater could not get this glass house up to above 22-23 degrees. It just wasn't high enough for long enough. But airflow and milder temperatures are really all that matters. So, it did bring it up enough to extract the outer layer of moisture. Whether it would have extracted the bonded moisture in green wood in a timely manner is another matter. But yeah, I'm very happy with what we've done today. I'm going to spot test a few more bits of wood and perhaps fire test a few. But yeah, very happy indeed. And I will speak to you and catch you guys on the next one. Okay folks, only been a few seconds for you, but for me it's been a week and a half of absolute pain in the arseness. The observant of you might notice that is not the same heater. Yeah, the one I had barely got to lukewarm, as you've seen from the relatively low temperatures, and only lasted 2 days. After that, it just threw up error code after error code after error code and was completely useless. So, after going backwards and forwards with the manufacturer, I opted to simply send it back for a refund, and I've ordered this replacement. It is more expensive, 15 quid more, but the reviews were superb on it. To be fair, when it arrived, it's a different shape, it's more upright. When it arrived, the other one had a soft flexi tubing in the bottom, which is a known failure point. This one came with a rubber valve extender to bring it away from the heat pipe, and then hard tubing for the rest of it. It's got a whole variety of kit that can go on it, most of which I'm not using because I'm not using it as a heater in a confined space. And most importantly, when you put your hand over the air output, the last one could be running for hours and it was barely lukewarm when you stuck your hand in front of it. This one you can't I've put it up at maximum heat, you can't put your hand in front of it. It's been running for 35 minutes and it's gone from, I don't know if you can see that, 9 degrees to 14 degrees in 30 minutes. Now, as you can see, it's dark, hence I've got the torch. But I'm much more hopeful for this one. I will bring you back probably later on tonight when I'm shutting it down for the day, I'll come back out and I'll show you kind of what it's got up to and what it's managed to do, because I'm hopeful that this is actually going to be more effective, because the other one just didn't have the guts to do what was needed. Right, so I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so here we are. It's pretty much bedtime for me. 3 hours after we started. I don't know if you can see that temperature in there through all the haze. I'll show you when I open the door. Time to shut it down for the night anyway. It's only been on 3 hours and it's already at 18.4. That makes it significantly warmer in here, this boiler, as opposed to the previous one. Previous one added, we've got from 11.4 to 15.4 in 6 hours. This one's gone from 9.9 to 18.4 in 3 hours. And I know it's up to sufficient temperature because it started to make condensation on all the glass panes, which is exactly what I was after. Now, tomorrow this is going to run all day. I mean, literally the whole day to kind of dry it down. Unfortunately, when I took some samples last time, because I thought after a couple of days it had done it, clearly it hadn't. And that was my fault, because when I was using that moisture meter with you last time, I had it on the wrong setting. I had it on softwood instead of hardwood. So, what we'll do is I will turn this off tonight. You can see, actually, fuel consumption hasn't been bad. In 3 hours, the line's gone from about there to about there. So, you know, I think there's probably 3, 6, 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours at this run rate from a tank of 5 litres, so it's not bad at all. So what I'm going to do is shut it down for tonight, and I'll fire it up tomorrow. I'll bring you back tomorrow evening after it's had another day of drying. We'll split a couple more pieces with you and look at the moisture meter on the correct setting. An example, let me hop over here without burning myself. So I've got 2 meters. I've got a pinned meter and I have a pinless. I prefer the pinned one, if I'm honest. It gives a more precise reading and allows me to see the difference between the inside and the outside. So if we grab, let's just turn this on. I need it on setting wood C. Don't know if you can see, but she gives instructions. So wood C is laurel, ash, elm, fir, maple, praduc and oak. D is bass, larch, pine and birch, none of which I have. So this here is the oak. So if I pop that down there, if we put that on oak, you can see smidge over 20.3 degrees, 20.3%. If we flip, however, we go over to this end where we have the ash. Bearing in mind it will be slightly higher on the inside. Not much, because this is a fairly skinny. I split my timber very shallow. Certainly for ash I do. The oak I've left chunkier. You know, that's 23.4, and that ash is down to 21. So it's getting there. Not seeing any check marks yet, so that's cracking in the wood. But that's to be expected because, oh look, we have a little bit starting to get a few checks. But yeah, we'll have a few days of this. I think probably 3 or 4 days to get this down to where I'm comfortable. other thing to bear in mind is that we are preventing, by doing a heating and cooling cycle, we are preventing what's called case hardening. Case hardening is whereby you heat it to a high temperature and it's constantly high, and that high temperature then means that the outside is bone dry, but it's kind of trapped a wet layer on the inside. So what happens is, in the cooling phase, the bonded water, so you have free water on the outside and the very edges, which is easy to remove, and you have bonded water which is inside the wood itself. As that bonded water will move from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration, so the outside of this could be as down as low as 6%, and then the inside could be 25%, and if we leave it to 12 hours or so, that will equalise itself across the wood, which means we then do another heat cycle. We dry out a lot of the, now 6 on the outside, 25 on the inside becomes 17, 18. We then do another heating cycle, which extracts a lot more of the outside moisture again. So it's 18 in the centre and 6 on the outside, and again another 12 hours, and that becomes 15, etc, etc, etc. So that's where we are. I'll bring you back tomorrow, basically, once we've done a full 24 hours with it, let it cool down a little bit. I'll see you then.